Hey fellow duelists, it's RagingRaidRaptor here, coming at you with a discussion talking about why Xyz Summoning is my favourite mechanic that it's been introduced in the game so far. But before I start, I would like to establish that these are my reasons for liking the Xyz mechanic, and may differ depending on your preferences. So without further ado, let's get started. What I immediately loved about the Xyz mechanic is how easy it was to summon compared to the other ones at the time, as someone that re-entered the game in late 2014, since it is much easier to explain that you only need 2 level 4 monsters to summon Castell or number 101, as opposed to synchro summoning that needs a tuner and a non-tuner whose levels add up to 8 in order to summon Stardust Dragon, which led me having to learn what a tuner is and that you had to run them if you wanted to synchro summon. Or fusion summoning that normally requires you to use a fusion spell card with the list of materials of the fusion card that may need any archetype related cards or specific named monsters in order to summon it. Unless you play a contact fusion deck where you only need to have the materials on the field or grave if you are playing ABC Buster Dragon. Or ritual summoning that needs the ritual card, the monster cards and monsters on your field or hand whose levels add up to the ritual monster's level. Or pendulum summoning where you have to run other pendulum cards with different scale values to even perform it. But even then, having to remember that you can also pendulum summon monsters that are face up on your extra deck as well. I feel in comparison to the other summoning mechanics except for tribute and link summoning, Xyz Summoning is the third easiest one to understand, and would often use Xyz decks like YuGiOh to teach someone how to play a deck with access to the extra deck who has limited experience playing YuGiOh. What I also liked about the Xyz mechanic was that you couldn't always reuse the effects of the monsters every single turn, which could have given an opponent who was trying to stall against floodgate monsters like Constellar Pallades a chance to play around it, since the player controlling Pallades would have to decide if he wanted to save the last material for the summon of another monster, or try and go for game by sending your opponent's face down monster back into his hands, which I feel is more balanced compared to cards like Towers or Masterpiece. Although some Xyz monsters like Cyber Dragon Infinity and number 38 would later not need materials in order to use their effects. However, for the Xyz monsters that had offensive applications such as Utopia the Lightning or Castell, the number of materials was not important due to how fast the game had become, to where they would most likely be removed from the field on your opponent's turn by cards such as Cosmo Dark Destroyer. What I have grown to appreciate about Xyz with the introduction of Link monsters is that the materials would still go to the graveyard, even if they were pendulum monsters, which I feel made pendulum summoning more tolerable than it is now and less abusable than it could have been. What I also liked about Xyz monsters is that they were the first summoning mechanic that didn't have levels, meaning that they could not be used for ritual or synchro summoning, but that also meant that you could not use most Xyz monsters for the summon of another Xyz monster, with the exception of cards such as Utopia F-Zero, Gaia Saber Dragon, or the use of rank up cards. This meant that you couldn't just Xyz climb into Castell after using 101's effect to save a monster in your hand. Unlike synchro climbing from Junk Destroyer to Stardust Warrior, or link climbing from Link 2's to Borosaur Dragon. Although this only became an issue when Zodiac Beast came out towards the end of the Arc V era. Although these Xyz monsters were never made mandatory to play in an extra deck based deck, Link Summoning it was still the most used mechanic throughout the Zexal and Arc V era, something I don't think any other mechanic has been able to accomplish. which I think is due to how easily accessible they were at the time for most decks, as well as how many applications they had. My final reasoning for liking Xyz is the black background, which I think makes the higher rarity versions of cards look even better than other cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! And even the gold editions look good on Xyz monsters. If there's one criticism that I have, it's that explaining that materials go underneath the card and do not count as being on the field, which can lead to confusion when you have to explain that they can't use the effect of Sangan when it is sent to the graveyard as Xyz material. Although I still believe that it is much easier to explain than pendulum monsters, having two text boxes full of effects, a monster effect and a pendulum effect that is similar to activating a spell card and can only be activated in the pendulum zone, and how if a pendulum card is destroyed in the spell or trap card zone or monster zone, they go face up into the extra deck instead of the graveyard. Or link monsters not being able to be switched to defense mode. Having arrows that open up more spaces that allow you to summon more extra deck monsters, to which you need to think about which arrows are best to extend your combos, or the fact that some of them need to be co-linked in order to use their full effect, which forces you to explain what a co-link is, or that you can U-link your opponent, and that you can add the link value of a link monster into the summon of more link monsters. Well, I hope you enjoyed this discussion about why I think Xyz Summoning is the best mechanic the game has seen so far. I would also like to thank the YouTuber YuGiOh for helping me with the script by critically assessing the first draft of it over on my Discord server, as it would not be as good without his inputs. If you feel like I've missed out some points or disagree with me entirely, let me know in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, why not give it a like or share it with your friends? It would be greatly appreciated and would help the growth of the channel as a whole. I've been RagingRaidRaptor and I'll see you all again next time.